Okay, everybody. Well, welcome to today, the 5th of May, and for this Zoom meeting, Stronger Together. It's been 6 meetings now that we've had, and time has gone quite quickly. It's quite amazing, really. The way things are going at the moment, I think that's I'm going to bring up what's on everybody's mind is whether you can open your beauty salon or not. And there's been quite a lot of confusion. Yesterday I was on the phone with Danielle and we weren't quite sure what was permissible or not. And still today there's quite a bit of confusion. So Danielle and Jemima, do you have any more clarity on that?
I think we need to wait at this point because it is very muddy. I'm not sure legally if you're covered if anything were to happen. So my opinion would be to wait. It's just not clear.
Right. I know that it's definitely no treatment, but it's really whether you can retail or not.
Retail, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can open as a store,
right.
Retailing with social distancing, but no.
Okay, so that's quite a great thing. You can already bring back your salon, open the doors, and retail to your clients, and that's really quite good.
Frank, I think it's important to note that it varies state to state, and it's not the same everywhere. So people should be very careful when they're talking about what's happening. It's very different state to state.
Right.
In Melbourne, there is talk that there won't be hands-on or reopening at least until June. That's
even for retailing.
Well, legally, because it's been shut down, it's a grey line. So if people are going into their salons, they need to be one staff member or social distancing happening. But it is a bit blurry. So I'd be saying check your relevant state health website for the latest updates.
Yes.
In New South Wales, it was deemed that just recently that mobile businesses and home salons could open again. It's just been retracted by the New South Wales state government an hour ago. So
has it? Okay.
It has. So whatever state you're in, you should be logging on to your state health department and your state department as well for the latest updates.
Okay.
And then also some of the industry groups like beauty industry, they're pretty much on top of the things that are happening. So if you aren't a part of that group, you really should be, because Tamara's doing a great job keeping up to date with all of that information. So consider that.
That's great. All right. Can you do you have Tamara's link, a group link somewhere? Or we'll organise it.
We'll organise it. Thank you.
Yeah, I did a post a little while back, but we can get it up.
There's
a lot of things there that everybody really should be on and following.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched her presentation today, and she was completely frustrated. She wanted to pull her hair out, I think. But we'll do our due diligence as well. We'll keep everybody updated when we hear some news. But from what I gather is just restrain a little bit longer, just to make sure that if you do reopen, it's legal and you won't get fined or you won't get into any trouble. So that's where we're at. If you have some other ideas, please write them up on the chat box and share it with us regarding this. We'd love to hear you. So just to continue on, I want to thank everybody for sharing their why videos. I really appreciate it. I want to congratulate both Michelle Barlow, I'm not sure if she's with us, and Deborah Koff for their beautiful videos. And you've been our winner for this week, and we'll be sending you the beautiful Infinity Whole Food. So yes, congratulations to both of you. And look, it's actually quite appropriate in the sense that we talked about our whys, and it's probably a good, I mean, I'm sure you've been in contact with your clients and staying, in close communication. But if you haven't done too much of that, now's a good time to start reconnecting with them, and just maybe do a little video saying, you know, why you're excited to soon be opening your doors and to reconnect with everybody, and perhaps just share why you started in the first place. So that's my recommendation. Do a little video that you can do to your clients, just saying why you're looking forward to seeing them again, and hopefully very soon. That would be my recommendation. Now, I had a really great conversation this weekend with my son, who, as you know, is a clinical psychologist. And it was quite a challenging conversation, because when I talked to him about our whys and how we were doing this video, he responded with some very challenging thoughts. So I'm not going to share them with you, because he will be with us next week. And I assure you it's quite interesting what he says regarding how the brain functions and relating to the why. So please join us next week on that. It'll be interesting. We have with us now Sharon Holand, who is who has an advanced diploma in naturopathy, in herbal medicine, in iridology, reflexology, you name it. She has it, and I'm really grateful, Sharon, for you taking the time. I know you're like very, very busy, so taking the time to spend with us and to share some of your knowledge with us. We spoke yesterday, and we sort of discussed it a little bit about cortisol and some of the havoc that was causing on the hormonal system. Now, I don't know if that's how you want to start off the conversation, but I'll let you take over and guide us through your thoughts and ideas.
Thank you, Frank. Hi there, Jemima. Good to see your beautiful face. Been a while. I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been a naturopath for, seems a very long time, but I was a skin therapist in a pharmacy setting. And I found that as a therapist, that it wasn't just about the skin that people were coming, it was how I made them feel. And as a therapist, for them to walk out of a salon feeling totally relaxed, of course, made their skin glow. And it came down to, for me, the adrenal glands. And so when that patient came to me, or client then, she would be rushing. It was considered a pampering treatment. So I wanted that client to come more frequently to get the benefit. So I started studying naturopathy, and that's been a can of worms, Frank. So you never stop learning. But the main thing when I talk to patients now is I ask women, what are the 3 things you want from me today? Always the answer, regardless of whether I'm treating their breast cancer or I'm treating an ingrown toenail. The answer is 1, I want to lose weight. 2, I want more energy. And 3, I want better sleep. So you've addressed some of those things with your Olivia, with the sleep. But the main thing that I found is when we look at stress, we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our state of rest and repair. And we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight and flight. And we should be in parasympathetic mode 80% of the time in our life, but we're not. And so being in sympathetic mode means our adrenal glands, and I'll just show you a little diagram of where you'll find them. So if I just click onto here, I'm learning as I go, Frank. So we're just looking at the adrenal glands, which sit above your kidneys. And so you'll see this diagram here. I'll bring that in.
Yeah, perfect.
And those adrenal glands produce 4 hormones, and the most potent of all of those is cortisol. And cortisol assists in the stress response, allows you to respond to a situation. Cortisol reduces the inflammatory process in the body, makes us less allergic. It regulates our blood pressure and our blood sugar. There's a whole host of it does. So as the adrenal output reduces, we find we become more allergic to, say, foods or creams or whatever we're putting on our skin. And we blame the food or the cream, but it's in fact our adrenal system has slowed down production. So I just wanted to share with you the consequences of that. And so your patients are coming to you for their facial because they've got rosacea, which of course is an inflammatory condition. And so the impact of nutrition, and Fiona would have addressed that, but the adrenal glands can play a massive part in this. I'll just cover this patient's name up. Can you see that easily there?
Yeah.
We've dropped out there, Frank.
Yeah, no, we're back on. We're back on.
So can you see this chart here? So this was a patient that came to me. She said she was yelling at her children all the time. She felt close to tears all the time. And of course, we can use herbs to treat that. When we did a hormonal profile and we did a saliva test, because a blood test, the body's constantly trying to be normal. So a blood test really doesn't give you those results. So this saliva test showed that her cortisol level was through the roof. And of course, to make cortisol, you need progesterone. And you can see that her estrogen is very high. And because she's made a lot of cortisol to get through her stress, she's robbed her body of progesterone. We end up with too much estrogen in the body, which can change our mood, make us put on weight, can cause cystic acne as well. So when you look at coming for a facial, how wonderful to be able to get that client on the bed and calm her mind, put her back into the parasympathetic state whilst you're treating the inflammatory condition of her skin. But I think if you have access to a naturopath that you could liaise with as a therapist, that was very useful for me as I was training. But I had the opportunity to use my clients as guinea pigs. So they would walk out with a reflexology treatment, as I'm sure a lot of you therapists do as well. So when we look at the digestive system, if the parasympathetic system is not engaged, then we can't digest properly. And that is then, regardless of the nutrition you're having, if you're in fight and flight constantly, constipation becomes quite apparent. And we see that in the skin as well. So estrogen dominance disorders, your patients may complain of hot sweats at night, yet they're only in their 30s. They may have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is the inability to clear out testosterone. So I feel the therapist's role in reducing stress and making sure that this treatment is every 21 days rather than the 28 days recommended for actual skin changes could be a great way to make sure your patients or clients are coming back more frequently for the genetic treatment. And we spoke, Frank, about you have lavender oil with the genetic, and the mastoid process here, just near your ear, and there's a bone, the mastoid bone. By putting that lavender oil on that bone half an hour before you have dinner, allows the body to go back into the parasympathetic state so that you can digest your evening meal and that you're not busy rushing from work to home. So we spoke yesterday, Frank, about a lot of people are secretly enjoying this downtime. So I think maybe, as you said, there's not a lot of depression or anxiety, perhaps anxiety about finances, but certainly going back to work and getting back into the groove, that if we can make these so-called pampering treatments more a health treatment. I don't know your thoughts on that, but I'm happy to help with any of those resources that your Jemima needs for your girls, Jemima.
Yeah.
So the other thing, when we look at this diagram, we can see that regardless of what doctors may tell you, you absolutely need cholesterol. So having essential fatty acids in the diet so you can repair every cell in the body is crucial, so that you can make all those hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, as well as your adrenal hormones. So when your body is in fight and flight, you are chewing up a lot of nutrients. Zinc is one of those nutrients, and you can check your patient's nails. I've got colour on today, first time in a month. And if there's any little white spots on those nails, that can be zinc deficiency. And it's a simple thing to get a zinc tally test from a pharmacy. You can buy a zinc test, and it's a bottle of liquid. You get your patient to taste it and rate the scale from 1 to 4. And that will give you an idea of whether they have adequate zinc, because, of course, zinc is one of the key nutrients, along with vitamin A, for skin health, also for immunity. Very important at this time that we're living. So I think another way to look at zinc deficiency, so the adrenal glands need zinc, vitamin C and magnesium, amongst other things. So checking your clients' stretch marks, and we have some great products with genetics for that, for treating stretch marks after having a baby, but the colour of the stretch marks can indicate whether that person had a relative zinc deficiency. So if the stretch marks are pink, that's an absolute deficiency, and you'll often see that in teenage boys. But if those stretch marks are pale white or silvery, that's a relative zinc deficiency, which means you have the zinc, but something is blocking your use of that, and generally that's copper. And Jemima, I know we've spoken about copper in regards to pigmentation and the products that genetic have to block that copper in the skin. Really interesting talking about how those minerals work. So I guess summarising all of this is that your role as therapists in getting your patient back to parasympathetic state, and that's your aim, whether it's through scent, through touch. I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions on some of the resources that they could use to make their treatment more therapeutic.
Well, I've got a question here. Actually, Danielle is asking, which reflexology points do you recommend?
Depending, so if the reflexology points, if you look at my hand, and we'll pretend that's my foot. So, of course, the big toe is the head. And so even just getting the big toe and just moving that around in different directions loosens up the neck. So while your patient has her mask on, you could go down to the feet and if you look at this part of the foot, that is the diaphragm. So just putting your thumb there and bending the foot over a few times relaxes the diaphragm, because of course when we're rushed, diaphragm pushes up, our stomach pushes up, we take shorter breaths. So by relaxing the diaphragm with reflexology points is fantastic. And you can Google a reflexology chart, just have a cheat sheet just sitting at the foot of the bed while the patient has her eyes covered. And you can work through all the different organ systems, down the spine, the neck, the diaphragm. Any other questions?
I was going to ask you, if you're a beauty therapist and you want to form an alliance with a naturopath, what sort of questions, what sort of, in the test you're saying do some tests, are there some terms of the test, the names of the test that you would ask the naturopath to do for you?
I would, and I'm happy if any of your therapists send me their address or their postcode, that I could contact a company that would match them up with somebody close by, that they could just have a talk about the common things that they come across, whether it's a lot of fine lines in the neck, which can be deposition of calcium into the skin, and using vitamin K2 scavenges calcium out of the arteries, the gallbladder, and takes it back to our bones and teeth where it's more useful. So often that wrinkly skin is more a calcification problem. So talking to a naturopath, you would perhaps say, I'm seeing a lot of women at the moment with acne rosacea, and nothing to do with the chocolate and red wine they've been drinking during lockdown, Frank, of course.
No, of course not.
No, but, and perhaps then as you get more comfortable with talking to that naturopath, you can cross-refer. So if you think that there is a gut issue, and that naturopath could perhaps do a little meeting for the beauty therapists to come in and do an evening where you're doing Ask the Naturopath, so that her top 10 patients could come into the salon and meet and greet with some health professionals.
Yeah.
So perhaps even a Pilates instructor to relax the body.
I know that often beauty therapists, they are in contact with the client and they see the skin, and the skin is such a reflection of the inner health. So it gives the beauty therapist access to a sort of a health map of how well that person is going. Are there like 5 top skin conditions that you can notice every time you cross someone on the streets? You think, oh, that person's got, you know, I can tell because their nose is white, or I can tell because of this. There's some of those things that you see easily that you could share with us?
Well, some of the things that we can look at, you might find little lumps around the eyes, not milia, but more oval-shaped lumps, and that's cholesterol deposition around the eyes, right. Which is a gallbladder issue. So they're not emulsifying their fats correctly. It can often go in the upper lids as well. Right. Another thing is usually with men, they'll have, it's often thought of as a beard rash, but can be Demodex mites. And when you Google Demodex mites, they're horrific looking things, right. Microscopic mites that's sticking to the hair shaft. And so regardless of what you do, often laser is useful. Right. To get rid of those, but often looking at, and you'd rather not look at some people, but you can often make an assumption looking at their eyes. Of course, essential fatty acid deficiency is the scaly skin. Eczema is an inflammatory condition in the gut, but often too, that's your fight and flight. So some children are born in a state of sympathetic nervous system dominance, and particularly children with ADHD find it very difficult to get back into that state of relaxation, the parasympathetic nervous system. And so kinesiologists are very helpful there. And I think if your therapists start looking at their clients' overall health, that they could find, as I said, an expert to come in once a month, once every 2 months to share their knowledge. Because we all want to look beautiful, regardless of age. So all women and men want to be pretty, whether you're 80 or 8. You strive to present that best foot forward. And really, a lot of people, we spoke about the SAD diet, which is the standard Australian diet. And people feel they're eating well and they're not.
No. It's hard to dissociate really beautiful, radiant skin without having a healthy internal function of all your organs and so forth.
Well, I'm looking at someone in your background that has the most beautiful skin.
Yeah, Lydia.
Yeah. So, and as you say, that glow and happiness radiates out as well. So you can look at a woman on her wedding day. She may not be particularly attractive, but on her wedding day, she glows because her vibratory rate has come up. And that's the gift that a therapist gives somebody on that bed, is to raise their vibrationary level through touch, through scent, just a kind word often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Frank, can I just maybe suggest with what Sharon was talking about, working with a naturopath, that was something I did for a very long time in my business. Yeah. And when you were asking about how to connect with them, one of the best ways to connect with a naturopath is to actually go yourself and have a session done. Yeah. And that way you're learning not only about yourself, but as things are being explained, you're actually being educated firstly, but it's also relevant to you, which then when you're treating a patient or a client on the bed, it becomes a natural part of the conversation because you've been learning that. And then when you've got the confidence in that naturopath, it's very easy to then recommend to those clients to go and see that. And then what happens, of course, they come back and think you as the therapist is incredibly knowledgeable because you've been able to share some insight because you've learnt from the naturopath. And of course, they get incredible results. So it becomes a two-prong effect in that the therapists will be even looked at even as a more knowledgeable person because they've been able to connect that. And I think in this day and age, when I was doing it many years ago, it wasn't the done thing. It was a bit out of the ordinary. But I think now if businesses aren't incorporating internal health and working with naturopaths or Chinese medicine practitioners, you will be falling behind, but it's becoming the norm.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well put, Jemima. I totally agree. And I know that from my mother's experience, she started as a beauty therapist, but as she was treating clients, she was seeing that there were so many deficiencies. Like you were saying, Sharon, zinc was one big one, and certain vitamins, and so she would have to plunge herself into what are you eating exactly? What are you doing with your with your diet? And so she had to upskill her knowledge on nutrition, and that's what made her quite different and quite distinctive. But I think learning through a professional would be great. Mum, did you want to say something? Hang on, I'll just unmute. Yeah, now you can talk.
Yes, okay. So I was working with a naturopath in my beauty salon. He was coming once a week, Christian.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was very, very knowledgeable. And I learned a lot of things with him. As much and as well, I learned a lot of from Mr. Laporte and that. Yeah. So what I was doing when I was doing a facial with some client or treatment, I was playing what can I say? Not a video, but the talk of Mrs. Dr. Kousmin.
Yes.
And to get my customer how to eat well.
Right.
I was doing all those things
right.
in a beauty salon a long time ago, yes. So that, for me, there was beauty with very good products, which it was bringing nutrition through the skin and educate my customer with good nutrition at the same time at home. That's the way I was working.
Raises your credibility when you associate yourself with a naturopath and yes. Show the client that you just can't get fundamental results by just carrying on the surface. You've got to
of course, you need to work inside the
yes,
side. So it's really good compliment.
Absolutely.
Sharon, can I take you back a little bit to the sympathetic nervous system? Can you talk us through, you were saying that the sympathetic nervous system is what we know as fight and flight. And it seems to me that majority of people live in that state and it's become kind of the norm for many, many people. What are some of the things that happen to our digestive system when we're in that state most of the time?
Well, when you're in parasympathetic, it causes what's known as, this Jemima peristalsis, so that from the mouth right through to the ground, that the digestive system is doing this gentle squeeze. So when you're in fight and flight, it's constricted. So of course you can't digest, you can't eliminate, and your skin being your largest organ will eliminate waste for you through your breath as well, through your skin. Your eyes will start to discolor, particularly the iris. So people with blue eyes, as they get older, they become more green because it's that yellow toxicity. Blue and yellow make green. you can look at brown eyes and actually look deep into the eye, and they're actually blue underneath that brown. So that's generations of toxicity. And I know in Melbourne in particular, Jemima, there is fluoride in the water. And when we look at the periodic table of elements, which I never thought I'd ever do in real life, but I do every day, and we look at iodine. Iodine is so important. It's betadine, basically, so it kills most organisms. It's the anti-cancer nutrient. And if you look at the periodic table, we have fluoride, chlorine, bromide, then iodine. So fluoride and chlorine and bromide are all in tap water. You're blocking your use of iodine.
Wow.
So the thyroid can't function well, and we start to feel sluggish. So therefore, we know chocolate makes us happy. It's amazing, chocolate. But we tend to look for that comfort food because we're feeling sluggish. And our mind says, well, come on, you're below par, keep going. So you're in a state of anxiety because you're not keeping up with your peers. And then that creates a raise in the heart rate. This is the parasympathetic nervous system not being on. The sympathetic nervous system raises the heart rate, flushes the face to pump blood to your head so you can think quick, blood to your muscles so you can act quickly. So 100,000 years ago, we might step outside our cave and there'd be a man with a spear. That image would go via our retina to the brain. The brain would say, oh my goodness, man with the spear. We'd get a message to the adrenals. They'd squeeze, release adrenaline. That adrenaline would hit the heart to pump that blood to our head, blood to the muscles, but it'd shut down the digestive system because that's where the blood came from. So if you constantly are forcing yourself to eat, you're not digesting it. So you may have the most amazing diet, but if the mind is not quiet, you just cannot get into that. The nutrition just can't be absorbed. And I think if your therapist talk to patients about their bowel motions, and again, using reflexology and a pressure point where the bowel is, and if they say, oh, that's sore, you can say, so what are your bowel movements? Are you eliminating every day? And most people say, oh, they're normal, maybe every third day. And then that is normal. But once to twice a day would be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest and allows all those things to work correctly, what we have found over the years of being therapists is, like you were referring to, Sharon, is that when clients have come to us over the years, what they do is they lay on a bed, they're given permission to stop, they are looked after, their breathing slows down. And that's one of the reasons, apart from the touch and how amazing they feel by what they've had done, the fact that their breathing in itself has started to slow is getting them back into that parasympathetic nervous system. Is that what you were saying earlier?
Exactly. And how many, well, in recent times, how many people will not have felt the touch of somebody? And touch is so important. Little children are craving, their friends, little toddlers, and grandmothers that haven't seen their family. Just a hug. The power of touch is amazing. And as therapists, because the genetic therapists in particular, I think, have a most amazing hands. And I know Carly will be listening. And so many people walk out of our clinic going, oh my gosh, and they feel transformed. Yeah. And so that they come back time and time again. They wouldn't have cared, and it's no offense to genetic, but if she had have rubbed mud on their face with a little bit of lavender oil, but the power of the genetics product, yes, they see a result, but it's how it's delivered, and it's, with that sense of purpose. And that is totally what the brand is about. It's just above what any other pharmacy brand can give.
So then with what we're facing today and people preparing to go back to work, and in the last number of years for many therapists or salons, or the way the industry has gone, a lot of it has been encouraged to be less tactile or more in and out sort of treatments, or maybe patients that are going and getting more Botox or laser. They're not having that beautiful moment to actually unwind and be touched. So part of what we potentially could be doing is promoting some of these things to our clients around what the other side effect will be, and that will be to help potentially have their nervous system a bit more relaxed to be able to face what's yet to come in the coming months.
And also too, I'll share with you one of my staff members' results. I will cover her name. I think you know who it might be, Jemima. But this is a fertility issue. And so when there is a lot of stress, cortisol gets produced at the cost of progesterone. So this client had been trying to have a baby for a very long time. So this is going and having a massage, a regular treatment at our clinic, allowed her cortisol levels to be normalised. We used some herbs to bring the progesterone up. She was warned not to have children. She didn't listen. She's now got a 2-year-old baby boy. But the effect that therapists can have on fertility, digestion, skin, and all through getting control of the parasympathetic nervous system, because the progesterone levels drop massively. And I'm seeing a lot of fertility patients in the last 5 years, more so.
And let's face it, I think you'll find a lot of the therapists that they're treating are coming in with issues around thyroid. I mean, anxiety is such a widespread problem across the nation, fertility, and we don't sort of tend to put that back to things like our nervous system. They tend to be put in their own little silo category as if they operate on their own, and potentially maybe learning a bit more, understanding a bit more for our therapists around the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and the importance of the role that we play in helping to get them back into that parasympathetic side of things, can potentially, as you're saying, with other assistance, have such a flow on to other good things happening for their mental health and physical health.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I like our therapists to do when they get their client on the bed is to do what's called box breathing. So in through the nose for 4, pause for 4, out through the mouth for 4, pause for 4. And that was designed by the US military before their soldiers went into combat. So it was to calm and get that body into parasympathetic mode where you're alert but not agitated. So getting and encouraging the breath while they're doing their and I'm sure, Jemima, we've watched you train our staff and you use that breath with them constantly.
Definitely.
So I think that's getting control of the breath, the nutrition and structural. So lying the patient on the bed, whether you go to an osteopath, like you suggested going to a naturopath, but an osteopath, and learning about the structure of the body. So how can the lymphatic system drain if the neck's from breastfeeding or from, you know, holding a phone. So I think that therapist has the ability, because you've got a captive audience, that you become the expert on structural health, internal health, mental health. I think it's really important.
And Sharon, I can remember, I also wanted to share, I can remember being down with you and we were doing a session with the girls, and you actually did some work on the back on a point that was to do with the digestive system. So because of your knowledge and ability, you're able to share that with your beauty therapists, which is beyond, I guess, what's taught in beauty therapy school, or if people have worked on their own for a while or haven't traveled down those avenues. The benefit of some of the things that you can share with your staff means that your clients are then getting an overall element of a bit extra in their facial treatments. And by even adding in the reflexology or other elements of that, again, like linking with naturopaths or other allied health practitioners, it raises the bar for us as beauty therapists.
Absolutely. And everybody loves something for nothing. So they go to have their facial and they got a back treatment.
Yes. So between the breathing, starting off with the breathing, using some of the essential oils quite possibly, then of course the touch and the beauty and the ingredients in our products with the touch, when the masks are on, to be working on their feet or doing more breathing or reflexology points. It's all of a sudden becomes so much more than just an average facial.
Absolutely. And I've just noticed a question there from Julie that she wants to know a naturopath in her area. Julie, if you get onto Metagenics and put in find a practitioner and your postcode, usually those Metagenics practitioners are very well trained. You may get 2 or 3, and then just talk to them, because we all have areas of expertise. So there might be someone there that you really just click with. So that's Metagenics and find a practitioner. I think that will be useful for everybody, and that's Australia-wide.
Yeah, and we can put a link to the Metagenics website for everybody to have a look at and source theirs. Yeah, great.
The other thing I just want to, because we were talking about breathing, there's a fellow called Wim Hof. I don't know if anyone has heard of him. He used to do these things about ice baths, or he had a whole show where he took a whole lot of people and he would make them jump into a pool of freezing cold water, and he's a big advocate about having cold showers or cold water. But he has also a whole breathing sequence, and I've just put a link to him. He's very interesting and worth investigating from everyone. So check
and Frank, the method that Sharon just shared before, the 4 in, the holding it for 4 and the 4 out, that's used by a lot of people for anyone. And it can be if you're homeschooling your children and they're driving you crazy and you've got phones ringing and you've got a whole lot on, you can just stop where you are and do that method, and straight away it'll start to just settle you down. People don't realize that we actually have the power in our breathing to start to reduce our stress very quickly if we need to do that. But it's something that we don't tend to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And it's free.
It's free.
It's simple. That's probably the problem. We just sort of think, oh, it's free.
It's not valuable.
But it is. It's brilliant.
I'm going to have to duck back to see the rest of my patients for the day. So I'm just wondering if anybody's got any questions. You can send them my email address, Frank, and I'm happy to help with. So naturopaths do saliva testing, but we can check neurotransmitters, we can check hormone function, but I think hormones are probably the key to a lot of women's health problems. Okay. So thank you.
You're amazing as always. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Very much.
So good.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And just for everybody, one of the first topics we talked at these meetings was about the mindset. And I remember saying, that I start my day with a 10-minute meditation. And when I do my 10-minute meditation, my main focus is really about breathing. It's just to get my mind set on focusing just on the breathing. Like Sharon said, breathe in and hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out through the mouth, hold it for 4 seconds. It's a great way to just sort of get my mind focused and start the day that way, rather than check my phone and the messages and so forth. That's the opposite of of that. The other thing that you remember that in one of the challenge I asked everybody to share with us your silver linings, and look, I think that's something that you can even write, the things that you're grateful about, the experience that you've had. This is just something that you keep with yourself, and that's a great way to start the day in a positive state of mind, and that always brings the level of your mind to sort of a more centered you, and so you put that together with the breathing and a feeling of gratefulness, and you can start your day in an amazing way, a much more productive way, and in a much more positive way. So that's something I highly recommend. I know that Anna, you're with us, Anna, and you're also doing. Well, your background is in natural therapy. Do you want to share any points with us?
Well, I'm not a naturopath, but I study aromatherapy, and I'm a rehabilitator, and I got nutrition a little bit. I'm a big puzzle.
big part, isn't it, of treating someone's skin.
And yeah, it's true. Like breathing is really important. Meditation, food, the way that you structure mental thinking as well. Your mindset is really important. And for me, my treatment, this is my main focus. So when I treat people, regardless if I have to do a facial, sorry, my kids are running around. Or if I have to do a treatment for a sciatic nerve, it's true. The main things is as well constrictions of the body and the mind. Because when you physically don't feel well, your mind is always, give you bad energy, and whatever is happening in the mind, it's happening in the body. So yeah, it's great to keep moving, do stretching, exercise.
For sure.
Thanks to this isolation, I do lots of yoga now. When I couldn't do it every day, now I do it every morning, and meditation. So yeah, everything it's true. Like vibration around, that.
I can see you can do some breathing right now.
Focus on what I should say.
Yeah. No, but that's thank you for reinforcing that point. It is vital, and it is such an easy thing that we can do, and perhaps a great way for everyone to reconnect with your clients, just to remind them of these easy things that they can do and how important they are and the benefits that they get from them. And that will be a great little video that you can personalize with your client. I recommend you do that.
I actually, if I can say something, in one of my facial when I got enough time, like, when I got 1 hour to spend with the client or 1 hour and a half, I actually start my facial with the breathing.
Right.
So I make them stop and lie down and put their hands on the belly and just do a few breathing before I actually start the facial. So I just tell them to breathe in and expand the belly and just think of the breath constantly. Just focus on the breath and then breathe out. And I tell them to do that for maybe 3-4 times before I actually start the facial. So that is just a way to wind them down and to just reconnect with themselves sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Frank, this could be a really good time for people while they're at home, and with what the time they've got, is to actually reconsider or have a look at how people are doing their treatments from start to finish. And they might already be doing some of these things or aspects of these things.
That's right.
But going back into the salon when we can get there, maybe if you've devised a post-COVID-19 effectively way to do your treatments, especially for people that will be surging to come into your salon, and you've got that little bit of extra stuff going on, they're going to feel even more pampered and relaxed without realizing that you're doing that extra bit. But the fact that they're getting the outcome, they're going to want to, as Sharon said, potentially try to get them back in 21 days as opposed to the 28 days, because they feel so good because of your touch.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, you kind of read my mind, because I was going to ask everybody for the new video challenge. I was going to ask, what's 2 or 3 things that you're going to be doing differently, or that because of this time that we've had to reflect and rethink how we're doing business, what are the things that it's going to change in your salon? So whether it could be the physical aspect of your salon, some of the rooms that you've repainted or the layout, but also perhaps some of the things that you're going to be doing in your treatments that might be different to before. I'd love to hear that, and that will be my video challenge to you. So just share with us some of the things that you're going to be doing. Maybe you've learned some new skills, and you're going to be using those skills for the future of your business moving forward. But definitely, I know that I'm very fortunate. I have sometimes the opportunity to get Danielle to give me a facial here at the office. It's rare, but when she does, she always starts with some of the essential oils that she makes me breathe. And we start exactly as Anna was just suggesting, is just to start breathing some beautiful, what is it, Ravensara or lavender or whatever oil that she uses, and that's how the facial starts. And then while I have a mask, she always does a little bit of reflexology on me. Something either with my foot or my hands, so that the time is, I always feel that during the whole facial, she doesn't just leave me in the dark and goes away and does something. She's always there, and she's using that time while I'm, under the facial to do something extra. And I honestly, after the facial, I'm walking on cloud nine, and it's quite an experience, and I'm sure that's how your clients will feel if you're not already doing it. So think of things that you could do. That would be.
And to go back and have a look at the point for the diaphragm, as Sharon said, because when we were in the sympathetic, when we're in fight or flight, and that whole gut closes down, if we can help open up the gut function and work on the diaphragm, maybe make sure that you're serving them some lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemon in warm water as a way of helping their digestive system. Try to educate them that we want to keep the digestive system functioning so that it doesn't have a domino effect on other aspects of our body, of which the skin will be very much one of them.
For sure. Danielle, are you with us? Is there anything you'd like to add if you're there? Maybe she's not.
Okay, all right. Everything Sharon said just fits so well my philosophy, and I think most of the therapists that we have at Vital Plus, they'll relate to it, and I think it's definitely something that people want to know more about.
Yeah.
To use any of our brands, it fits beautifully in with all those concepts. We have those beautiful essential oils, and whenever I train, I'm always showing how to do those breathing techniques, how to use them for the essential oils. And I think Dr. Laporte, if we go right back to his philosophy, it was very much with genetic, as Jacqueline, I'm sure will agree, was using the reflexology points. It's been consistent the whole way through.
Yeah, thank you. And Mum, is this something you'd like to add? You agree with everything. That's perfect.
And if you haven't done reflexology or trained in it or studied it, there's heaps of stuff on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's not difficult, is it, Jemima?
No, I mean, you just got to Google it. There's videos, and just to even find like that point, like Sharon was saying on the diaphragm, just find a couple of points that will be able to help you.
There is a diaphragm from Mr. Laporte for the foot massage.
Yeah,
we got that on the.
Frank, actually, in the genetic technical book, if everyone's got that, on page 31, it's got so we've actually got free access to that if you've got that manual, and maybe we can post that onto our closed group today.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, there we go. So your challenge for next week, and I really appreciate when everybody makes a little effort to do a little video for me. It really makes me very happy. So please do, is to just talk about something different that you're going to do, or that you've already done with your salon or with your treatments, or how you've upskilled yourself in something, or in some whether it's maybe you're starting your day differently, whatever it is, something that's changed since the beginning of this, and share that with us. We'd love to hear that. It'll make us all feel that, we're all doing something, we're all moving forward, we're all looking forward to the time when we can actually touch our clients and give them that connection again. It'll be wonderful.
And Frank, can I add to that? Yeah. Sorry, I know that you're really big on the videos, and you're trying to get all of our therapists doing that for their own pages. One of the most liked videos that I've seen is actually a therapist massaging a client's face. So you can't actually see the therapist. All you're seeing is their hands on the client's face, just for a 10-20 second shot, and post that onto your own business page, because people are missing that, and remind them that this is what we're doing.
Well, therapists are all about that touch.
Yeah. It's short video. It can be massaging your husband or your name or someone in the house. Yes, remember this. But just actually doing that motion and having that back on your page, which will link back in for a lot of people to their why anyway.
That's right. That's right. True. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Next week, I will have my son participating in our meeting. He's going to be quite confrontational, if I may say it. He will challenge some of these ideas that we may have, but it'll be very interesting, and you'll really appreciate that time with us. We'll have something else as well. We're going to work something out with the team. We'll probably talk more about what I like to talk about is all the things that we need to do to make our salon safe for when we reopen, and all the safety measures that we're going to need to make sure that we've taken care of, so that our clients feel reassured that they can come to the salon and you can protect yourself, your staff, and the clients themselves. So these are the things that we'll discuss next week. So thanks for joining us, and I wish you have a great week. And I look forward to seeing everybody